Welcome to the Mixology Talk podcast.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Julia, and we're the folks behind abarabove.com, the ultimate resource for craft bartenders, bar operators, and just about anybody else looking to make great craft drinks.
I'm a bar consultant with more than 10 years of industry experience.
And I run abarabove.com, bringing weekly articles and cocktail recipes to help you make great drinks and grow your career behind the bar. This is episode number 114, and this week we're addressing the inevitable. When it's time to move on to another job, how do you exit gracefully without burning bridges or creating a bad reputation for yourself? It can be tough to do it right, especially if you've been working in one place for a while, but it can be done. So let's get into it. So I know I sound a little bit like a broken record, but we cannot touch on the topic of quitting without talking about reputations in this industry.
It's like beating a dead horse with another dead horse.
Yay!
The name of the podcast should just be like drinking with reputations and relationships, or R&R.
R&R behind the bar.
But it's so true, and it's the reason we keep saying it over and over and over again is because this industry is really, really small, and the longer you're in it, the smaller it gets. And you're just going to run into people that either know you or know people that you've worked with.
Or know of you.
Have heard your reputation, and you kind of want that to be a good one. You don't want to be that person that walked out of their bar and left it just in a pile of ashes behind you.
Literally or figuratively.
Right, exactly. So just be conscious of that. And this is one of those moments where it could really kind of...
This is how people are going to remember you.
Right. When you leave, you want to be in good standings.
Exactly. It's the last time they saw you. Try not to do it in a huff.
Right. It's like the guest experience. You know, when somebody comes into your bar, you treat them good, and then you just... That check drop or that final goodbye, you just kind of poop on. They're probably not going to come back. And they're not going to have...
Are you pooping on customers again?
And they're not going to have a lot of good stuff to say. So just remember, this is kind of like that last final touch.
They might even call the health department.
They might.
I wouldn't blame him. So moving on, now that we've established that horse is thoroughly dead, we should definitely talk about this. And that is, first of all, do you even need to leave? I know that it can be incredibly exhausting and exasperating and frustrating, and who knows what your reasons are for wanting to leave. But just take a moment and think about, could this problem actually be solved with a candid conversation with your manager?
Yeah. You know, if you're overworked or if you're just exhausted, if your workload like this is just too big, ask for help. I've had to do this numerous times where I knew it was coming, especially during the holidays where I just need more support. So I would have those conversations and I would say, look, I'm drowning over here and it's happening every day. I need a bar back. I need another bartender. And just be honest with them and just kind of frame it out. Whenever you have a conversation like this, try to highlight how much money they could make.
Absolutely. Well, I remember in one of your past jobs, you would come home for weeks and weeks and weeks, especially I think it was this time of year. And it was the same mantra. I need the kitchen to help me prep. I need the kitchen to help me prep. And eventually you did have that conversation and it did get better because you asked for it. But if you didn't ask for it and just left, then the next person who filled your shoes would be in the same position. And that manager, if they're a good manager, should know that.
Right. And, you know, there's so much work that we have to do on a daily basis. If there's opportunity to kind of spread that workload out across a couple different people, it just makes the job
conversation
easier. And this could be a conversation you guys could have right now and really help out just your state of mind and your level of exhaustion. Because if you're walking in the door, you're already buried. Your mood is just going to be sour.
It's not good.
Yeah, it's a hard place to start off with.
I will say one thing. If you are looking at having a conversation like this with your manager, put some thought into it in advance. Think about solving the problem as opposed to just, I'm angry at the bar and I'm grumpy and you need to fix it, Mr. Manager. That's not, first of all, it's not very professional. And secondly, there's nothing he can do about that. That manager can't solve the problem that you're grumpy. What they can potentially do is get you a bar back. So think about, what are the tangible things that you are asking that bar manager to give you, or that manager or that GM or whatever, and present them with that plus the why, the what's in it for them, the what's in it for you. Why is this something that's going to help the bar? And that manager may simply not be aware. Maybe you're just a rock star, and from his perspective, you're keeping up, but he doesn't know that you're just...
Before we go to...
You got to tell him. You got to give him a chance.
Yeah, and this will be a good kind of test. You want to be in a place that really supports you, that listens to you, that wants you to advance in your career as well. So this could be a good conversation to have to see if you're in that kind of environment.
That's very true.
And
See what their response is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. And it just could be one of those conversations you have. So before we go too far, there's one thing we really have to say, and that is pay attention to your environment. If other people are leaving, see how management behaves, see what happens, see if they just kind of kick you out or if they support the person leaving.
Yeah, exactly. If somebody else tries to give 2-week notice and the bar manager tells them to hit the road instantly, that's going to tell you a lot about what's going to happen to you when you have that conversation.
Right. And you can kind of plan accordingly because you're really trying to not burn the bridge, but you're also not trying to kind of get your feet cut out from under you when you go out to, have that conversation with the manager. I'm putting in my 2 weeks. All of a sudden, you're 3 weeks from
you're out of a job for 2 weeks.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's a problem. And it can be really tough in this industry. With a conventional office desk job, your 2-week notice is very, very standard. But in our industry, it can be a little more challenging because when you want to go find a new job, they want you to start yesterday.
Right, exactly.
So I know that can be challenging in and of itself, but definitely pay attention to the culture around you. And one other thing on that note, as Chris mentioned, is that sort of mentorship sense. Now, I know not every bar is like this. We're not all so lucky. But if you're in a place where your management, your ownership care about you and your career, then frankly, they're going to want you to succeed, whether it's in their own bar or somewhere else. I know this is very unusual and it's a little bit pie in the sky, so bear with me.
Yeah, and this is something that's really kind of taken hold in the craft bar world, more so than other places, where they really want their people to succeed. They want to have this entire culture develop around them. So bar mentorship is this thing that's kind of been brewing in the background for quite a few years in the craft world. So the point of that is basically, if you're in a place that kind of tries to foster that environment, they very much might just get you your next job because they want you to succeed. They want their friends to succeed. And if they know that you're to advance your career, they're going to have your best interest in mind.
Absolutely. So if you are looking to leave because you're looking to move up in your career, you're a bartender, now you want to be a bar manager. You're a bar manager, now you want to be an AGM, something like that. Why not go to that manager, go to that owner and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know I am looking to move up in my career. I'm looking to move into a bar manager position. I would love to stay if there is a position like that available for me here. But if not, I'm still going to be looking for that position. And they're going to know what you mean. They're going to be listening. And frankly, they may fight for you either to make a position for you, to find some way to make you happy here in your existing role, or they may ask around because these bar owners know bar owners. So going back to how close-knit this industry is, folks know each other and they may know of somebody else who they respect, who they know has a great bar program, who has an opening coming up.
Yeah. So once again, read the culture. This isn't a preemptive conversation you want to have if you're not on good terms or if this kind of culture doesn't exist in your bar, because it could be like whoa, hold on, you're looking for another job?
Wait, you're leaving?
Right, exactly.
Get
and
out.
It can make them super nervous, and all of a sudden you have this kind of a weird scenario that you have to kind of navigate. So reading the culture is really important if you're going to take this approach.
That's a great point, especially if you're looking to move into a management role. Talking to the manager might make them feel a little bit
Hey,
threatened.
I want to eventually move into your position.
I'd like your job, please.
Yeah, so...
Move aside.
Yeah, you going anywhere anytime soon? Or do you know anybody?
You checked the brakes on your car recently? No, seriously. I mean, it's nice to say that every culture waiting for a position would be supportive like this, but that's frankly not the world we live in. So
exactly.
Just pay close attention, look around. And just going back to reasons you might leave, like any industry, often you can move your way up through the ranks in a restaurant or in a bar faster by moving diagonally. And by what I mean by that is, instead of just waiting for a position to come available in the current bar you're working, you do move to other places. You do say, okay, I want to be a bar manager now. I'm going to go be a bar manager at a different place. This is very, very common. Nobody's going to be surprised. But again, don't leave every 3 months. Stay long enough to really learn all that you can, get a great reputation for being a hard worker, a great manager, a great bartender, and that reputation will follow you. It will help you.
Yeah, and different places, different workplaces have a lot of different experiences to offer. Like a little tiny craft bar is really great for building intimacy with your coworkers and getting a sense of camaraderie. But if you work for a big machine of a restaurant that's all about numbers, it's an environment you better believe their managers know numbers. They know how to navigate a business that size.
There's such different learning experiences.
They really are. And if you're looking for the business side of that, you may want to consider going to a corporate restaurant because they're going to have their processes down. They're going to be able to have an entire vocabulary built around reporting and systems and how to train managers. And you might not have that same experience in a small craft bar. Hopefully you will, but just kind of weigh those as well.
So let's talk details. Like, how do you give notice? Now, obviously, I don't know your bar. I don't know exactly what your culture is like, but we can give some thoughts to some general situations. In general, it would be nice. It would be wonderful if you could always give 2 weeks notice. But this is real life. And that's not always the case.
Yeah, especially with restaurant openings, it's usually last minute. Oh my God, we need to hire staff because we're open in a week and we have a week of training to do. So sometimes...
More like opening tomorrow and we have 2 weeks of training to do.
Right, exactly. So sometimes that's probably not going to work out. But you want to do your best to give a full 2 weeks notice just out of respect because the bar manager that you're leaving still has to go through that same process of interviewing, which takes a week, and training, which absolutely takes another week. So you just want to be respectful of that process if you can.
Is there ever any middle ground where you might be able to negotiate like a half of your shifts at the new place, a half of your shifts at the old place? Have you ever done anything like that?
No, but I've worked 2 full-time jobs, and I'm sure that's a lot of people
that's the
have
other
as well,
solution.
where they train during the day and then they work during the night until they're fully up and running. Because part of that training process, as many of you know, many places don't pay you. Either they don't tip you out, they'll pay you a small amount for hourly rate.
You get your hourly,
so
but
you
that's
have this
it.
big gap where you're actually not making it that much money. So ideally, if you could do that, that'd be fantastic. But
as much as it stinks to work 2 jobs, it's nice to still be able to pay the rent.
Right, exactly. That's a conversation you can have with both people, hopefully, and
play that
kind of
one
optimize
carefully.
that for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Once again, it depends on the culture of where you're going. It depends on the culture of where you're leaving.
Right. One of my favorite ones is just going in there, you're done, and you just like start pointing around. You're cool. You're cool. You're cool. You suck. You suck. I'm out of here. Peace.
And today's podcast is brought to you by Things Not to Do.
I forget what movie that was in, but it's either a movie or like a sitcom that somebody did that in.
To your point, don't do that.
Right.
No, seriously. When it's time to give notice, I do hope that you are going to a new bar, that you already have a new job lined up. But do this in person, first of all. Don't give notice by text message. Yeah, you could, but it's not terribly professional. Show up for your shift. Say, hey, manager, do you have a second? Pull them aside and have the conversation. And when it comes to having the conversation, obviously, you can just say what you need to say. I've got a new position waiting for me. I just wanted to let you know I will be starting full time at this other bar in 2 weeks or something. And be positive. They're going to probably ask you why. This is a trap. It's absolutely a trap. Don't fall for it. Whatever, I don't care if the building is on fire. You are not going away from something bad. You're going towards something good.
Right, exactly.
Literally, I don't care if your pants are burning. Like, you are something along the lines of, I'm going somewhere that's a better fit for my career journey. I've got a great position. I've got a bar that's closer to home.
This new opportunity opened up and I just couldn't say no.
Exactly.
Anything like that.
They've given me the opportunity to get my cocktails on the menu. I really don't care what it is. Whatever you do, you're not leaving because Jenny bartender sucks.
Right.
You're not leaving because the bar backs are terrible. You're not leaving because the regulars suck. You're not leaving because
you couldn't get that Friday night shift because you're just too slow.
Right.
All these things.
Exactly. I don't care. Whatever it is, think positive. Even if it takes you a week to think of the reason. Take the time. Be positive. Again, you want them to remember you positively. You don't want to remember you as the dick who said a bunch of jerky stuff to them on his way out the door.
Well, and carry that energy over to the next place you work at, too. I've seen this happen so many times, and it just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth, either when I work with a new bartender or I hire a new bartender. And somebody asks the question, why'd you leave your last job? And
they will ask.
They will ask. And all of a sudden, they're in the mindset of like, oh, I already got the job, so I can say whatever I want. That place sucked. Are you kidding me? Oh, that place was terrible. And
manager's a jerk.
You start bad-mouthing them. You don't do that because the first thing I think is they're going to say the same thing about me when they leave, and there's more to the story than they told me. So what did I miss in the interview process?
Yeah, it definitely, this kind of goes back to our gossip episode from a few months back. Again,
Oh
be
my
positive.
God.
I can't believe she said
Did
that.
you hear what she said?
I highly recommend that episode if you want to hear more of
I don't know
those.
why I get like a
voices.
feminine voice going.
I like the Valley Girl voice on you. It's
oh
nice.
my God.
Becky, look at her bar.
Look at her resume.
I think you get the point we're going for, though, is just be professional, be positive. And frankly, when they ask you why you left, they might be wondering about going to work there. So there's definitely value in being sort of candid and honest, but in a positive way.
Right, exactly. So I think that's about it for giving notice and kind of transitioning to a new place.
I would definitely say, are there any things that you would recommend people doing as they transition out of their role? Any tips for helping train the people taking over for you? It probably really depends on what your role is.
Interested in it?
I imagine.
Actually, that's a really good point. So if you want to have a sterling reputation and you want to really just kind of ratchet it up and give the full treatment to the place you're leaving, find somebody to take your place.
And train them.
Oh my God, that
Take
is
the
so
time.
if you're like, hey, you know what? I've got about 2 weeks left. I know this person. He's already interested in it. I'd love to bring him in. I'd love for you to meet him. I think he's going to be a really good fit, and I can train him. That is an absolute perfect scenario for a manager.
Or even find somebody who's already there who wants to take your place and train them and sort of take care of that cross-training time.
Absolutely.
Is that a good way? If you think the manager might come back and be like, get out right now, is that a good way to mitigate that? And be like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm giving you 2 weeks notice. And over the next 2 weeks, here's what I plan to do to help assist with the transition.
I don't know, because I think absolutely try to mitigate that kind of scenario. But I think people that are in that mindset of just
There's
get
no
out
hope.
your day. There's not a lot of
much you can do.
relationship saving in that scenario, right? So you're not going to be able to invest a ton of energy into that.
I'm not worried about the relationship. I'm worried about the paycheck.
That's a good point. Try it. That could be a really good way to kind
hurt.
of mitigate that scenario for
and
sure.
it definitely, hopefully, it starts to move towards killing them with kindness. I don't know what your relationship with your manager is like, but if it's not good, erring on the side of killing with kindness is usually a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's usually going to work better than the "you're dead to me" approach.
No, and that's a really good point of just making sure that you leave them in a good position. And timing is everything. If you do it right before the holidays, you give them 1 week notice. They're going to say okay, but they're kind of hate you a
You're
little bit.
dead to me.
Kind of.
Circling back.
So, timing's everything. There's no way to kind of predict this kind of stuff. But, if you're going down into a slow season, you can pull a 3-month vacation out of it and get a new job on the way out. That's good for everybody.
Just think about it from your bar manager's perspective. They're probably just as overworked as you are. And so you need to do what's right for your career.
Right.
That's actually a really good point. Don't stay because your manager wants you to.
Yeah, and sometimes it's very common that they'll ask you for more time. Oh my God, I can't do 2 weeks for all the reasons we mentioned earlier, hiring, interviewing, all that stuff. And they may ask you for a month. If it's possible, go for it. You get a double paycheck for a little bit. That's kind of nice.
If you can swing it. Or maybe you can negotiate for fewer shifts.
Right,
Say, I can do a month, but I can only work Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know.
Yeah, and I can train during those times. Whatever you want me to do, I'm happy to do it. Whatever works out best for us and the bar team.
But don't kill yourself. You
Right.
got to look out for you. Your manager's looking out for your manager. You got to look out for you. And that means things like don't kill yourself. Don't overwork yourself. You got to do what's right for your long-term career, not because your manager is begging you to stay a little bit longer. So it is challenging to find that sweet spot, but you definitely have to think for yourself, think for what's right for you in the long term. And I think you're going to do great.
Yeah. Good luck. And
let us know how it goes.
Yeah. If anybody's transitioning, let us know any tips you guys have about dropping that bomb on a place you're working at right now.
Hopefully it's not a bomb.
Actually, you know what? Either good or bad. I kind of want to hear it.
Let's hear your stories.
We can talk about it.
But if you did set the place on fire,
oh my God,
please don't tell me.
This?
I don't want to be a witness. I don't want to know.
All right, everyone. Well, until next episode, cheers.
Cheers. So if you're looking to move on to a new role, a new bar somewhere else in your city, hopefully this episode is giving you a little bit of food for thought. and hopefully you'll think through how you can make that transition go as smoothly as possible and leave behind a stellar reputation. If you found this episode helpful or fun or interesting or any of the above, we would love to see your reviews in iTunes. I know we don't ask for these very often. Apparently we're supposed to ask for them all the time, but I never think of it. So we would love to hear your thoughts in iTunes. It helps us know what you think of our podcast, and it helps other people find us as well. So definitely leave your review in iTunes. Let us know what you think, and head on over to the show notes at mixologytalk.com/114 and let us know how your departure goes. We would love to hear your stories. Catch you in a couple weeks. Cheers. Never miss an episode by subscribing in iTunes or YouTube. And as always, check out the show notes by clicking on the right.